Check this out, my friend just picked up an M3. That is an M3 328i. Wait a second. We'll check out all the M badging, right? We got an M there, we got a sticker there, we got an M cover, but this is not an M3. This is an E90. Hey everyone, Roger here from Ask Car Experts YouTube channel, and I'm gonna go over my friend's 2011 E90 and take a look to see what it needs. That's our chickens. I already know that there's some odd problems on this car, so let's check it out. What's one of the first things you do when you check a car? Well, most people check under the hood. Well, this is an N51 engine, which means that this particular engine is a SULEV, or super ultra low emissions vehicle. Now in certain states like California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and many others, there's a lot of components that are covered for 15 years, 150,000 miles. Now this car had a recall on it for the PCV system. The PCV, or positive crankcase heater, is down here, but the recall actually takes place right under this cover right here. During that time, it was found that the valve cover was leaking. The valve cover and the valve cover gasket are covered by SULEV, so that was replaced. Now during that repair, this coolant line broke. Now that ended up being consequential to having to take this off, because it's right here and it just was brushed and it actually caused damage, so that got covered. And then when that was being replaced, the upper radiator hose wouldn't separate, and that failed also. So consequential items are often covered by the dealer when you have a failure like this. We have a covered component, and let's just say we have a bolt that won't come off and the valve cover needs to come off. Well, that extraction and that bolt replacement actually would be consequential to a covered component, so therefore it would be covered. All right, let's take a look at some of the things that stands out to me. All right, so we have a lot of oil right here, and this is from a leaking oil filter housing gasket. And you can see it's actually getting onto the alternator. I've seen alternators fail from the oil leaks that are getting into the alternator, and it can cause a premature failure. So we definitely want to replace the oil filter housing gasket. You can see there's some oil on the oil pressure switch right here, so we'll probably want to undo that and make sure that there's no oil in the pins. If there's no oil in the pins, then it's probably just from the oil filter housing gasket. Now you can see right down here there's a head bolt. You always want to check to see if this head bolt moves. I have seen these external head bolts where the head is broken off just from expansion contraction, and that is a stretch bolt. The head pops off, and then you kind of lose your tension and you can have an oil leak. Now I can see there's a lot of oil down in here as well. So the fix for that is usually you can back that bolt out and replace just that one bolt. You obviously have to take the intake manifold off. But one thing you have to watch out for is when that bolt breaks, and this just happened on another friend's car with a 1 Series, the bolts around the front of the head here also can break and they can fall inside the engine. So with the valve cover off, it's always a good idea to check the bolts, the small bolt heads around here, and make sure they're all intact. And you also want to check your Vanos units. There's bolts on the back of the unit that can loosen up. So you want to check and make sure that the heads aren't broken, they're not backing out. If you did find that, those would be covered. Now an oil filter housing gasket, that's not covered by SULEV. Now when you have your oil leak here, you want to check your belts. Now I don't see a lot of oil on the belts, but the belt tensioners are pretty common. And when I have this much oil, even a small amount of contamination on the belt can cause the belt to fail prematurely. Now if that breaks, it can get sucked up into the front main seal and cause some other damage to this whole area right here. It can actually cause engine damage because the belt can get sucked into the oil pan and then into the oil strainer and then actually cause oil starvation. One other thing that stands out, there's a couple of pigtails right here on the mass airflow sensor. My guess is the previous owner probably had a tune on this and they had it attached right there. There's even some kind of, I don't even know what this was, a Velcro or something, that it was probably stuck there. We got one bolt missing here, and you know, quite often you find these plastic holders broken. This one's actually in really good shape considering the age and mileage of this car. So right here in the engine compartment, the only thing that really stands out is that oil leak. The valve cover leak was already replaced. I don't see any other coolant leaks. And if you look here too, somebody's actually already replaced the Mickey Mouse gasket we kind of call it, because it looks like a Mickey Mouse head if you take the end off. And this is an aftermarket setup where this is an aluminum piece, no longer that plastic piece, and the hose doesn't swell. So somebody's actually already did a repair on this, which is fantastic, because then you don't have to worry about that. The oil leaks down onto that and then it makes it swell, and then you have to replace that quite often. All right, let's take a look here. It looks like somebody's added an M badging. It's starting to get a little bit worn. Same thing here. I don't know if this car came with this or not, or if somebody's added that. I did notice that this is broken off. This was a holder for a license plate bracket that goes into the tow hook cover. So I'll have to see if I can extract that. Maybe he wants to put a cover on that. I don't know. I don't know why they just broke that off and just left it in place. Oh crap, I just noticed something. Look at this headlight. This headlight is facing downwards. I don't know if you can see that. Let me compare it to the other side. I don't think that was noticed before. Oh, and this one's looking inward. So a lot of times that can be issues with the stepper motor controllers. But I've seen the rings fall off also. Let's see. Oh yeah, see this one, that ring is not looking down. It's actually popped off. Oh, you can see it move. Right? It's been that way for a while. You can even see the mark right there. So unfortunately, this is going to need a headlight. I think the best thing to do in a case like this would be to try to source one, a used one that can be swapped in. It's always a good idea to take note of the part number. There actually is a sticker on here, so 6311-7240-262 should be the part number for this headlight. All right, let's move on to the interior. Now, one thing I did notice is the lock rod's missing, so that's pretty weird. And this morning I had a hard time unlocking the car with the key, and I actually got nervous that it was going to be stuck here blocking my car. So it just locked. You see it just did not unlock. This is basically what happened to me this morning. Hopefully I don't set the alarm off here, right? Okay, there's lock, there's unlock. All right, so it actually took that time. Probably I just need a key battery. So during that craziness of me trying to get into the car, I realized that this didn't want to unlock. Actually, it feels a lot better now that I pushed it past that point. Let me see, that's the car's locked. I should be able to unlock the car here. Oh yeah, that's where it gets stuck. That's lock. But what was happening with me is that even when I'm turning this, now I had to hold it really hard in that position, and then it did unlock. So that's actually how I got into the car today. So there's something going on with this tumbler as well. Now I got to take this door panel off to see what's going on. Why is the lock rod not here? Right, so I can pull the handle. I did hear the latch work, so everything there seems to be working. So far we have oil filter housing gasket, belt and tensioner, right front headlight, and a key battery and a tumbler. And there's still, I'm sure, a lot more to find. All right, when you're checking out a car, obviously you want to see how it sounds. See how it feels, right? How does it feel sitting in the seat? Does it feel like a misfire? Actually, it doesn't feel too bad. And you always want to take a look to see what might be, what kind of warning lights you get. So we got a tire pressure malfunction. I know that the module doesn't respond. And we see here we have inactive. So I need to add that to my list. Need to take a look at the tire pressure monitor module. And it's very common for those to fail, and they can cause a lot of odd problems. Let's turn the headlights on and see what that headlight looks like in the front. So looking at this headlight here, I was right, it's pointing that way. So I'm pretty sure that the stepper motor controller in here has a problem. It's working, but it's not really pointing in the right direction. This one over here actually is pointing in the right direction, but the ring has fallen off. You know, this is funny, some things that a lot of people don't think to check. Obviously, make sure that your vanity light works, and I just put this down and I realized that they even put a little M sticker here. That's just funny. Well, how do I know that they're stickers? Well, here's one right here, and here's our fancy M sticker. This one's peeling up at the Function Roof Center. Might as well check the moonroof while we're here. That sounds good. Now we want to pour water in the drains. It's always good to come up top and take a look in the track here, right? You don't want any debris in this track right here. This is the sliding track. And then this inner track is where water can get into. A moonroof or sunroof is never 100% watertight. Water does get in, and then it's going to travel along this inner track to a drain where there's a small hole, and it goes to a drain in the corner. So actually, I don't know if you can see it on this side right there in that corner, but they both look clear, so that's good. It doesn't look like anything's clogged. You can pour a little bit of water into this inner track to test that, and if it drains out correctly, you're good to go. In closing, it's not anti-trapping, everything is good. Now, if it was anti-trapping, one thing you can do is you press up and hold on the button right here, and you don't let go. It's gonna open, vent, fully open, and then fully close. You don't let go until it completely stops. And this is a manual slider on this car. Okay, interesting. All right, vehicle interior. The start-stop button is a little bit worn, but I mean, that's not really that big of a deal. Let's put the headlights back into auto mode. Let's see, heating control panel seems to be working. I want to make sure that you have audio. Switch it to radio. There we go. Okay, radio's working. I always like to turn on the heated seats, make sure that's all working. You know, always take a second to run the seats. Ooh, that sounds okay. Well, they work, they're just a little noisy. And make sure the seats aren't jamming. Don't forget to check the door handles for the melting door handles. This one's starting to get a little bit of gross on the inside, yeah. But again, that's a minor thing. All right, check heated seats are working. And another thing to check, obviously, is your AC. So put your AC on full cold and check your vent temperature. The AC is blowing cold, maybe a slight difference between side to side, and that usually means it needs a refrigerant top off. Now on an E90, the most common cause for a refrigerant leak is from the evaporator behind the dash. Always good to take a second and make sure you don't have any power steering noise. And it's just always a good idea to check these stupid cup holders. And these actually are the updated ones because they have this little chrome bit on them. Can't forget the M badging on your rearview mirror. Now when I'm inspecting a car, I take every seatbelt and lock it into place. Always a good idea to check the e-brake. It should hold at 2 to 3 clicks. Oh, fancy, this has the automatic shade. Don't forget to check your blinkers and all your lights. Now on an E90, the FRM footwell module can sometimes fail, but it is a good idea to check the windows so we know. But if your windows fail while you're checking them, they can be stuck down. So hopefully we don't have a problem, but you know, if you're inspecting a car, you're listening for window regulator noise. Sometimes they go down and don't go back up. Sometimes they don't go down at all. But looks like he's good for the windows at least. So on this M3 328i, they added a spoiler and another piece of carbon fiber up here. This car didn't come with this. This is glued on. Make sure your hatch works and your rear taillights all look good. And it's a good idea to make sure that you have your tow hook, because it's a BMW. Yep, okay. We just can't put it in the front, but we probably can still pull it from the back via the tow hook cover right here. Always a good idea to check the battery. Okay, it's what I expected, an aftermarket battery, which, I mean, is fine. Just check your connections, they seem to be all tight. And then this panel right here, obviously you have a tray here, but I like to pull this back up and out because it exposes, this is the comm box, I believe it's called on this particular car. You want to make sure that there's no water, standing water in there, which that looks fine. Obviously you want to check rotor condition and how much brake pad we have. The rear rotor does have quite a bit of rust on it, so I would expect to maybe get some noise from back here while we're driving. We're going to take this on the... Alright, let's go take it for a drive. Always a good idea to check the wipers. Yeah, I need some wipers. So now that it's been idling for a bit, it actually feels pretty good. It felt a little rough on the first start, but I mean the car does have 129,000 miles on it. So for an older car with some high mileage, doesn't seem to be too bad. Let's take it for a drive. All right, shifting all feels good. Ooh. You know what I feel? I think I feel some thrust arm issues. I'm going to see if I can capture that thrust arm movement. So the thrust arm, basically when you're driving and stopping, the thrust arm prevents that diving of the front end. So I'm going to put the GoPro down and try to catch this. And of course there's grass everywhere because I had a mower carnage issue and I had to take my deck off and fix something. But let's go see if we actually have this diving issue, which would mean that this needs probably both thrust arms. They do feel pretty bad to me. I just noticed they have these little M Performance. I don't even know what these are for. Keep dirt and debris from getting down there, or just because it's aesthetically pleasing. All right, let's go for a drive and see how she sounds. I'll check braking. That feels pretty good. You can feel those thrust arms though. And you know what I feel? I feel like it wants to pull a little bit in one direction. So the question there will be, is that from a caliper issue or could be the thrust arms? So if the thrust arms are weak, when you're braking, your car can pull to one side or another, depending on which side is a little bit weaker. So I think with that particular issue, I would probably want to start with the thrust arms first and then recheck it highway driving to make sure that the pulling is gone. If it's not gone, then, you know, at the mileage that I have, 129,000 miles, I would want to replace both front calipers and not just the one that's causing the issue, because you would always have one caliper that is a little bit weaker. You put a new caliper on, the other side's not going to be up to snuff, especially at this kind of mileage, so you can still get a pulling. But overall, transmission shifting feels great. The engine pulls fine. It doesn't quite pull like an M3, but it feels like a 328 and 51 engine. It's not too bad. Actually, very, very nice ride. So he paid about $3,000 for this car, which I think in its condition is probably about right. Now, knowing about the headlights can be a little costly. Not sure what he's going to want to do with that. So overall, not bad. It actually felt pretty decent. It pulled fine. I didn't have any check engine light come on, no misfires. Sounds decent. I don't hear any exhaust noise or anything odd like that. The next thing I need to check is the door to figure out what's going on, where's my lock rod, and what's happening inside this door. Now, I believe I've realized that there was another issue. If I shut the car off and take the key out, right, I am, oh, okay, I thought I got trapped in here last time, but yeah. So if my car is locked, normally you should be able to do one pull and a second pull. I'm actually trapped in here. So if I had an electrical failure, I'm not getting out by this door. That to me is a problem. So if I go on this side, right, and I do a double pull, one pulls this up and second pull opens the door. On the driver's side, I'm trapped. Now, I've seen this on a lot of other cars too. A lot of BMWs have this problem with the door lock. If you're trapped in your car, hit the central unlock button to the unlock position. So I gotta press it again. And now I can open the door. So you know what that tells me? That door lock actuator is bad. So this unit right here, the door lock actuator, which you take apart behind the door panel, that's faulty. It's getting stuck into the double lock, and it's not allowing me to do a single pull or double pull to exit the vehicle. So it probably needs a door lock actuator, but again, maybe that's why they took this door panel off, trying to figure out what was wrong with that car, and then maybe the lock rod is just sitting back there. We're gonna take a look at another video. All right, everyone, that's my inspection. I've already looked under the car. There's a lot of oil, but that's to be expected from the oil filter housing gasket. I'd want to clean that up first. It probably does need an oil pan gasket because they all do. I know that this car had a transfer case, fluid flush due. When I scanned it, it didn't really have any other codes because it's already been at the shop and the codes are clear. I hope you found my inspection video helpful for some odd things that I've seen on an E90 in this particular car. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.